We're now going to move on to maintenance contracts, and maintenance contracts is a very important part of TSM for certain industries. And the maintenance contracts module is where it has a dual purpose. The first purpose is to act as an asset register of equipment at site, on location, whether it's our customers, whether it's ours, it doesn't really matter. And the second purpose of the maintenance contract module is to create schedules of jobs to be done on a routine basis, such as once a month, once a quarter, every year, or whatever it happens to be. So the first screen of the maintenance contract module is the contract itself, which has the details of the contract, when the contract starts and finishes. It may not actually be a contract, it may just be a placeholder for equipment, and who the contract is with. Within the contract, we can have multiple sites. So I can add another site into this contract if I want to. Whatever, just pick one randomly. So I can have multiple sites under a contract, and under each site I can have multiple pieces of equipment defined. So equipment, has its part numbers, its serial numbers, and so on. And that. Can anyone explain to me the difference between a part and an asset? What's the difference between a piece of equipment and a part used record?
Equipment belongs to a customer, so it would be a machine or equipment.
Yes, that's correct.
Parts.
But when I put the part on the job, and that'll also end up belonging to the customer as well. There's a very subtle difference between the two. Equipment is something that we do service on. A part is something that we use within a service. Okay? They both share the same sets of part numbers out of the parts database, but by putting equipment on a job, it's got nothing to do with stock control. There's no quantities involved or anything like that. I am servicing these pieces of equipment, whereas parts are items used within a service itself that update your stock and that sort of a thing. So here we have a list of assets or equipment or whatever you want to call it under this particular site. For any particular piece of equipment, we have our serial numbers and our asset numbers, manufacturer and model. We could have some deep description about the item. Maybe it's a location, it's under the stairs, in the back or something like that, whatever we want to say. We can put down the warranty information about that equipment, when the warranty commenced, how long it goes for, when it expires, who we purchased the equipment from. We can add standard checklists to this piece of equipment that any time I do any work on this piece of equipment, I will do this checklist. Now this is different from the product checklist, which is by part number. This would be a specific checklist for this specific piece of equipment, as opposed to another piece of equipment with the same part number. Maybe some special sort of checklist or that sort of a thing. So we can do that. We have our movement history, so we can actually move equipment from site to site within the module. So this gives us our whole movement history of where we've come from and where we've gone to in terms of movement of the equipment. Some equipment may have counters associated with them, maybe a photocopy or whatever, and we can then go and set that up in here and actually see the usage of counts against equipment. And there's an advanced function in TSM which actually can then bill based on copy counts as well. Very rarely used. And finally, we can see all the jobs that we have done on this piece of equipment from a history point of view. Very important ability to do that. My goodness, we've done 200 jobs on this piece of equipment already. Maybe it's time to swap it out and get rid of it and change it or something like that because it's costing us money or whatever it happens to be, or sell a new one to the customer. So that's the equipment under the contract. What we then move across is to the schedules, and so we create schedules for a site. So for example here, I'll create a brand new schedule. So this is going to be our quarterly schedule. Quarterly inspection. We're going to do it today. That's fine, we'll do it today. And it is a schedule type of quarterly. which will happen every 3 months. But I could make that whatever I like. It could be in days, weeks, months, years, the first whatever of the month, the first Monday, second Monday, third Monday, fourth, the last Monday of the month, same for any other days of the months, the last Sunday, the last day of the month. So there's, a lot of people like to do their schedule on the first day of the month. You don't know what day that is. It's a different day every month. So we've got a lot of flexibility there. So we fill in our details about the schedule, when it needs to happen. Next, we can optionally assign an employee to go and do that particular job, or a group of employees. We can allocate for this schedule maybe 2 hours to go and do that particular job. We may have a fee that we charge to go and do this particular schedule under the contract. We go out quarterly to get, and that's our fee to do it, or not. It doesn't really matter. We could also put in a labour fee. Apart from the charge, we might charge in so much for labour and so much for parts up front, whatever it happens to be. And then what we can do here is put some other information in there that's not so important. But what's very important is to then go and identify which pieces of equipment are going to actually be serviced under this particular schedule. It might be all of the equipment. It might be some of the equipment. It might be none of the equipment. We might be just going there to sweep the floors, for example. So let's just say in our example we're going to go and service those 2 pieces of equipment. So we'll go and save that. There's a lot of detail I'm skipping over here, such as the ability to make these equipment on the job, or make these actually parts on the job as well. So we could automatically put a consumable kit in here and automatically add a consumable kit as a part on a job every time we go and do our 6-monthly inspection, for example. We could have special checklists that we assign to this particular equipment on this particular quarterly schedule, for example. So there's lots of options there that we can do. So I've now gone and created my schedule. I've set it up to be every quarter. I've assigned my equipment to it. What I really need to do now is I need to go and raise jobs for these schedules. Some other information about the schedule while I'm here. I can have a checklist that's attached to the schedule itself, which will become a job checklist for this particular schedule. It might be some things you have to check, not equipment related, job related. I can see my schedule history of every time this schedule is fired off in here. So let's go and raise some scheduled jobs. So I click up here on the process button and I type in my date range. For example, I just want today, let's just say. So there's my one schedule that I've got for today, but everything else that was due within that date range would appear up here. That's fine. I'm going to select that schedule to go and create a job for it. I'm then going to process the schedule. And that's gone and created a job for me. And looking on my schedule history, there's my job 81489 that it's gone and created for this particular schedule. And then I can go and view that job. And there's a job it's created. So it's for the customer. It's my quarterly inspection. My equipment is already linked into this job with my serial numbers and all that sort of information that I've got on there, and the warranty information as well, so I can see what the warranty is. And now I can then go and take this job off as usual, assign it to someone to go and do the work, complete it. When I complete the job, there is one slight difference, and that is that I need to go and roll over the schedule. Oh, I have unanswered required checklist questions. Okay, I can't. This one's been set up that I can't actually complete it until the checklist questions get answered. So let's go and answer the checklist questions. So who has a checklist? Don't have a checklist there. Oh, there's my checklist right there. I'll just set all the default answers in there, which I don't have any default answers. So I'm probably going to have to go and answer these ones manually. No, what's it done? It's gone off into the never ever. Oh, there we are. There must be a lot of questions on that particular piece of We'll go and save that. Okay, let's see if I can go and do that now. So I'm going to complete the job. Okay, so because this is a scheduled job, I have one more step, which is to roll over the schedule. So what this is going to roll it over from the 17th of June to the 17th of September, and I could adjust that date if I wanted to. You know, maybe it's a Sunday or something like that, so I can go and change that. I could note that next time I go, I need to check the fan or whatever, so I can put that in as a comment here, and it'll come up the next time. I then go and update that, and that's gone and completed this job. Now if I then go back to my maintenance and just go and refresh that, you'll now see that this has been rolled over to the 17th. Oh no, did I not go and refresh that? Refresh that properly. Okay, my quarterly inspection, you'll now see that that's rolled over to the 17th of the 9th, and that'll come up as normal next time that comes around. Now there are quite a few options that we can do in terms of raising jobs of schedules that gives us a lot of subtlety. Okay, so the first one, if I don't say anything, is it just goes and creates a job, open job, ready to be done. But I may want to auto-complete that job. So by ticking this option here, it'll go and create a completed job. Why do I want to do that? If I was in cleaning, for example, where I don't actually do the work, but I have contractors that go and do that work, what I would like to do is every month go and create a job in my system for the cleaning and auto-complete it, because it's not going to remain open, just so that I can see a record of every time someone was supposed to go out and have done a cleaning job. And then I can reconcile that against the actual work that the cleaners end up actually doing to make sure they've got it done the work. I could auto-invoice a job. So auto-invoice will create a job, automatically complete it, and then raise an invoice. Why would I want to do that? Well, I may, for example, want to do monthly billings. So I'm going to charge you $100 a month to go and maintain your equipment. So every month I want an invoice raised for $100. Or I might be renting you stuff, so I'm going to raise a rental invoice for it. Or there's many reasons why you might have your annual maintenance come up, that you want to then charge them the new annual maintenance, and you want it automatically to raise an invoice to that customer. It's not for work to be done, it's an invoice to go out to the customer, a periodic invoice that needs to go out to customers. So that's what I can do. I can auto quote. So it'll rather than raising a job, it'll raise a quote with quoted items on it, so that I don't automatically go and do it, but every year I want to raise a quote to send out to the customer to renew their maintenance, for example, something like that. I think the rest are probably not that interesting. So that's the maintenance contract module. I've gone and left out a whole bunch of detail around the maintenance contract module, but that kind of gives you an idea of what that module is capable of doing.